Last time, you remember, Boris's fancy rain-making plan backfired on him, and he and Natasha were left floating about in a lake of their own making.
Darling, maybe we could call it Lake Natasha.
If you don't share up, we'll call you the late Natasha.
Yes, Boris. Shish, what a grouch.
Meanwhile, Rocky and Bullwinkle and their herd of worms were almost at the destination.
The fishing village of Angel's Cramp.
Won't do you no good, fellers.
What do you mean?
They got lots of fish here, but no bait.
Then we're in luck, 'cause we're driving a whole herd of fishing worms.
Honest and true.
Cross my little squirrely heart. Come on up, Roderigo.
Roderigo.
He's our lead worm, see?
Boys, you'll make a fortune. A fortune.
But at that moment, one stray little cloud floated over our hero's head.
Uh-oh. I don't like the looks of that cloud, Bullwinkle.
Fiddle faddle, Rock. What harm can a little cloud like that do? Well, now I know.
Gee, I wonder if that lightning hurt our worms. You okay, Roderigo?
Rodrigo looked okay, but suddenly...
Hokey smoke, Bullwinkle. He lit up.
Well, he always was a bright little feller.
No, I mean he lit up like a light bulb.
Oh, for the mercy me.
Yes, it was true. The lightning bolt had charged the whole herd with electricity, and every worm was now fluorescent.
Except this one. He's Roderigo.
Of course, this caused some complications at Angel's Cramp, for when the fishermen tried to use the worms for bait, the worms just wouldn't cooperate.
Confound it, Mr. Squirrel. We need fishing worms, not glowworms.
Yeah, and you sure need 'em bad, too, don't you?
Of course. Angleworms is the best bait there is.
Except for finkleberries.
Yes, and what's more, we depended on you to... Finkleberries?
Quite an echo they got here, Rock. Takes a long time to come back.
Finkleberries?
Hey, it comes back twice.
What are finkleberries?
Obviously, they're berries that grow on a finkleberry bush, like this one here.
I never heard of finkleberries before, Bullwinkle. You never see 'em in stores.
Small wonder. It's very hard to pick 'em. See?
Bullwinkle slowly reached for a finkleberry, and as Rocky watched in amazement, the berry moved back out of the way and onto another branch.
That's a fantastic phenomenon.
No, it's a finkleberry.
Again and again, the fumble-fingered moose grabbed at the finkleberry till he had it cornered on the top of the bush.
Gotcha.
Seems like a lot of work just to get one berry.
Oh, it is, it is. That's why they're so rare.
Are they really good fishing bait, Bullwinkle?
Are they?
That's what I asked.
Oh, that's where I heard it. Well, looky.
And Bullwinkle held out the berry between thumb and forefinger. Immediately...
That's amazing. That fish leaped 20 feet out of the water just to get a finkleberry.
And the end of my personal finger.
Bullwinkle, I'm gonna pick a peck of finkleberries.
You gotta be awful quick.
I'll prove I'm faster than any old finkleberry. Give me an alley-oop, Bullwinkle.
Right, Rock.
Alley!
And the cocky little squirrel zoomed upward into the air, reversed direction, and approached the bush with blinding speed. Well, well, will Cocky Rocky pick a peck of finkleberries? And if so, where's the peck of finkleberries Cocky Rocky picked?
Very clever.
Be sure to be with us next time for the Bush Pusher, or Berry Berry, Who's Got the Berry?
There was once an old fisherman who, in over 40 years of fishing, never caught a fish. Because of this, he was forced to live, with his wife, in a miserable little hovel close by the sea. But though they were very, very poor, he was very, very happy. But being so very, very poor made his wife very, very unhappy.
No money, no food, no nothing. Just a kooky husband.
Then, one day, as the fisherman sat mending his nets,
Oh, alas, poor husband, you must surely be addle-headed.
Why do you say that?
Why else would you be so happy when we're so poor?
Yeah, it does seem kind of silly, doesn't it? But you just wait. Someday I'm going to catch a fish, and then things will be different.
the old fisherman didn't know it then, but things were to be very different very soon. For the next day, when he hauled in his net,
Wow, I finally did it. I caught a fish. I caught a fish.
yes, it was a fine big fish, and a most unusual fish to say the least, for it spoke to him.
How do you do?
Oh, hello there. You know, you're the very first fish I ever... What'd you say?
I said, how do you do?
Oh, come on. You can't say that.
Why not?
Well, because fish can't talk. That's why.
But I can, and I'm asking you, please, let me go.
The fish pleaded so hard, and the fisherman was so shocked at hearing the fish talk that he did let him go. Then that evening, when he returned to his hovel,
Catch any fish?
Yeah? Nice big fat one. But I let him go.
Let him go. Why?
He asked me to.
Oh, well, as long as he... What? The fish asked you to let him go.
Yeah.
certain now that her poor husband was more addle-headed than ever, the wife wrapped hot towels around the fisherman's head and gave him a bitter medicine that was guaranteed to clear even the most clouded mind.
Oh, a talking fish indeed.
Look, he did talk to me, and I can prove it.
Early the next morning, the fisherman returned to the spot where he had caught the fish and called out loudly,
"Talking fishy in the sea, please come up and talk to me."
With that, the big fish returned to the surface and said,
"You called?"
"Yeah, my wife thinks I'm addle-headed because I heard you talk. Please come home with me so I can prove you do."
"Very well. You did me a favor, so I shall return it. Let's go."
The fisherman quickly took the fish back to his hovel, but his wife was nowhere to be seen. So he put the fish into their bed to keep him warm and set off in search of her. A short time later, the wife, who had been out collecting seashells by the seashore, returned, and seeing what she thought to be her husband in the bed,
Lazy lout, what are you doing in bed? You should be out fishing.
"I beg your pardon, madam, but I am not your husband. I am really..."
A talking fish.
"That is correct, madam."
Eek!
the poor woman's hair stood on end. Then, 2 hours later, when the fisherman finally coaxed his wife down off of the roof,
Yeah, now you see, dear, the fish did talk.
Okay, but get him out of here.
but the fish, who, of course, had never been in a soft, warm bed before, liked it so much that he said,
"Oh, please don't throw me back into that cold, old ocean. Let me stay."
No, I refuse to have a talking fish in my bed.
"Oh, let me stay. I will grant you 3 wishes."
Oh, boy, 3 wishes. Hey, that could make us rich.
The wife was delighted at the prospect of being rich and agreed to let the fish stay. Then they set about the task of making their first wish.
Now, a talking fish is something you don't see every day. So, why don't we wish for a big theater so we can make people pay to hear him?
"So be it, number 1.
The wish was granted, and they suddenly found themselves owners of the largest theater in the village.
Now what?
That's easy. Now we've got to wish for lots of tickets to sell.
"So be it, number 2.
The wish was granted, and they now had thousands of tickets. Everyone in the country wanted to hear the talking fish, so in no time at all, every ticket was sold.
Oh, boy, look at the money. Oh, we're rich at last. We still have another wish coming, so let's use it.
For what?
Who cares? Anything.
No, we better save it.
He's right. After all, it is your last
Now,
wish.
you stay out of this. Let's use it.
Save it.
But I think
Use it.
Save it.
But-
Use it.
but-
Oh, I wish you'd shut up.
"So be it, number 3.
Oops, I goofed.
The third and last wish was granted, and the fish was never to speak again. Of course, the audience demanded their money back, and the fisherman and his wife were run out of town as frauds. Poor, once again, they returned to their hovel, where several days later, a strange thing happened. For a small cat wearing boots approached them, and,
Howdy!
That cat! It talked!
Right. You see, I'm...
But before the little cat in the boots could continue, the fisherman and his wife tied a gag around his mouth, and he could not say another word. Which is just as well, dear friends, for Puss in Boots is another story.
last episode, we learned a brand new word, Finkleberry.
That's spelled F-I-N-K-L-B-E-R-E-Y.
Yes, and...
Period.
Yes. Finkleberries are the finest fish bait in the world. There's just one problem. They're very hard to pick.
It keeps moving from branch to branch. How do you pick a finkleberry?
You gotta be awful quick.
And to save the fishing resort of Angel's Cramp, Rocky has agreed to pick a peck of Finkleberries.
I'll prove I'm quicker than any old finkleberry.
How about the young Finkleberries?
Them too. Howie!
Boom!
But that small bush was just a short distance from a large tree, and...
Rocky, you all right?
I think so, Bullwinkle. Get me up there again before I lose my nerve.
Once more, Bullwinkle launched his buddy high into the air, and in a startling display of low-level flying, Rocky picked Finkleberry after Finkleberry before they had a chance to move.
He's a dazzling aerial technician.
Yeah, and a flying fool, too.
In no time at all, Rocky had gathered a peck of Finkleberries and returned to the fishing resort.
Rocky, my boy, you have saved Angel's Cramp.
Hooray!
All right, you fishermen, line up for your bait.
Boy, those fishermen sure look nervous.
Jangled anglers, huh?
Well, that was a day that will be remembered for a long time in Angel's Cramp. Fishermen couldn't even get their lines wet. Fish leaped out of the water to get the tempting Finkleberries. Some of them even pursued fishermen up onto dry land.
Say, these must be pretty good. I wonder how they taste. No, get away. This one's mine.
But that fish wouldn't take no for an answer, and finally got Finkleberry, fisherman and all. Of course, our heroes were heroes all over again.
For they are jolly good fellows, which nobody can deny.
Of course, Angel's Cramp became famous overnight, or even sooner. And the more fish that were pulled out, the more money that was pulled in. As a result, a short time later, our heroes were in the loot-filled armored car heading for the Squaw's Ankle National Bank. They didn't know that Boris's rainmaking had resulted in a brand new lake being in their way.
Now, they got to stop here, right?
Well,
And when they do, we got them in trap, right?
well,
Natasha, stop arguing with me.
right.
That's better.
But unfortunately, when the car got to the edge of the lake, Bullwinkle was at the wheel, while Rocky took a short nap. And Bullwinkle didn't even slow down.
That idiot drove right into the lake.
Right.
What a fool I've been.
Right.
Natasha, stop agreeing with me.
Okay. What we do now, Boris?
What else? We pull underwater hold up.
And the two villains quickly donned diving equipment and leaped into the water. Quickly, they caught up with a lumbering vehicle and started to force their way through the top of it. Inside, Bullwinkle was still unaware that he was traveling underwater.
Boy, what a rainstorm. Better turn on the wipers.
However, instead of turning on the windshield wiper, Bullwinkle punched the turret control, and Boris and Natasha were swept off the top as the turret turned. But Bullwinkle still wasn't out of the woods, or the water.
Getting kind of stuffy in here. I better roll down a window.
And Bullwinkle reached for the handle that would let in the lake water and drown both him and Rocky. Don't miss our next episode, Underwater Trap, or No Air in the Snare.
And now, here's that man with a master touch, Mr. Know-It-All.
Thank you, and hello, lovers of the touched. Today we take up the contents of my set of books on how to take your covered wagon through the West while being attacked by over 2,000 savages. They had to put my name on the back. No room. This wagon, as you can see, is covered with a special material that is absolutely resistant to all the weapons Indians use. It resists arrows, tommyhawks, spears, in short, everything the Indian ever employs. Well, just about everything. Next, we have the disguise your wagon method. For this, you simply need a wagon and an old used racing car. And you go safely through the Indian territory with no one knowing you have a covered wagon. You mean I won? Last, but the most foolproof, is the balloon method. One simply takes off from the east and floats gently over the Wild West in a balloon filled with non-inflammable helium. Or was it inflammable hydrogen? I know, I'll look at this little teeny label on the balloon, and...
Gee, Mr. Know-It-All, your book sure sounds exciting. Can I get a reservation for one of them?
Hop in here with me, Rock, and I know we'll get a reservation.
Peabody here. Sherman there. Say hello, Sherman.
Hello, Sherman.
You may dispense with the levity, Sherman.
Yes, Mr. Peabody.
Today we shall journey back into time to reveal the true story behind one of history's greatest archers, William Tell. Set the way back for November 18th in the year 1307.
Got it.
The place, Switzerland, near the community of Uri.
All set. Let's go.
In the twinkling of an eye, Sherman and I were whisked back in time to a small Swiss village.
Keen way to travel, huh, Mr. Peabody? Now what?
Well, today is the day the tyrannical Austrian governor Gessler has ordered William Tell to shoot an apple from the head of his son. Now we must find just where this event is to take place. I beg your pardon, young man, but could you tell us...
Don't stop me now, mister. I got to get out of this country before I get killed.
Get killed? My word, who would want to kill a little fellow like you?
My papa, he's gonna shoot me with an arrow.
Arrow? Your father wouldn't happen to be William Tell, would he?
Yeah, and he...
You, Joey, where are you?
Uh-oh, here he comes now.
So, here you are, Joey, my son. I've been looking all over for you, kid.
I happen to be Mr. Peabody. This is my boy, Sherman.
Hi.
And that is your little boy, Joey.
And that is the reason I got to leave the country. Papa broke his glasses and can't see a thing. Golly, if he can't see without his glasses, he could never hit an apple on Joey's head, Mr. Peabody.
Oh, don't worry. I got it all figured out. Just how I'm going to do it. Come on, I'll show you.
With that, William Tell directed us to a small orchard not far away, and...
Now, you see this apple tree here?
The tree is over there.
Oh.
Yes, we see it.
Well, I put every kind of plant food known to man on that tree, and look what happened.
Gosh, Mr. Peabody, the apples on that tree are as big as watermelons.
That's right. With an apple as big as that on my Joey's head, I can't miss.
The theory seems correct, but I'm not too sure. Now, give me a hand, Sherman, and we shall see. Sherman and I lifted one of the huge apples and placed it upon the boy's head. But just as I had feared, the weighty winesap squashed the poor boy flat to the ground. As you can see, the big apple might be a popular dance, but as a solution to our problem, it's a dismal failure. Come, we shall try another approach. Taking William Tell back 100 paces from the target, I decided to see if I could direct him into a true aim. Talk him in, so to speak. A little more to your right. That's it. Now higher, higher, a bit more. Steady. Fire!
How did I did?
It's best you don't know, William.
Uh-oh, here comes the tyrannical Austrian governor, Gessler.
So, here you are, William Tell. Are you ready to start with the shooting?
No, you'll have to call the whole thing off, tyrannical Austrian governor Gessler. You see...
Quiet, Sherman. Yes, Mr. Tell, we'll be ready in, say, 15 minutes.
Good, we're gonna be waiting. Boy, I'm so glad I ain't gonna be in your shoes, kid.
But Mr. Peabody...
No, but, Sherman, history demands this event take place. But have no fear, for I, naturally, have a plan.
What kind of a plan?
No time to explain now, Sherman. I shall return directly. Moments later, I arrived on the scene bearing a very special apple that I had selected for the target, and I placed it upon Joey's head.
Mr. Peabody, what's that?
That, Sherman, is an apple.
But it's so small.
Perhaps, but the best I could do on such short notice.
Ladies and gentlemen, you is now gonna see William Tell, who is way over there, try to shoot an apple off the head of this scared little kid who is over here. For the time being, anyway. Is you ready, Willie?
Yeah, sure.
Then let her rip.
Hey!
Wow, he did it! But you took an awful chance letting him try, Mr. Peabody.
I leave nothing to chance, Sherman. You see, I took care to place this powerful little magnet inside the apple so the metal arrowhead would be attracted directly to it. He couldn't possibly have missed.
Gosh, Mr. Peabody, that was brilliant.
I know. So that's how William Tell became a famous Swiss hero. And because of his poor eyesight, a cause of eye trouble was named after him.
A cause for eye trouble was named after William Tell? What's that, Mr. Peabody?
Why, television. Of course, Sherman.
Last time, as you remember, our story took a turn for the wet. For with Rocky asleep on the front seat, Bullwinkle drove the armored car full of money right into a lake. Fortunately, the car was watertight, and Bullwinkle thought he was just driving through a torrential rainstorm.
Rainstorm, heck, it's a regular cloud burst.
But at that moment, Bullwinkle passed a submerged signpost.
Turn left. Better put off my hand.
And the dim-witted moose reached for the crank that would roll down the window and drown both him and Rocky.
Seems to be stuck. Hey, Rock, give us a hand here, will you?
Well, what? Whoa, oh, sure, Bullwinkle. Hokey Smoke, where are we?
It's just a little shower. Ought to clear up in a jiffy.
Bullwinkle, don't open that window. We're underwater.
Underwater? That's ridiculous, Rocky.
Then look at that.
Well, I've heard of it raining cats and dogs, but this is...
But just then...
Golly, what was that?
Couldn't have been thunder, huh?
Sounded like an explosion.
Well, the brainy squirrel had done it again. For high above them on the surface of the lake, Boris and Natasha were blithely dropping depth charges on our little friend.
1, 2, 3, O'Leary.
4, 5, 6, O'Leary.
7, 8, 9, O'Leary.
10, O'Leary.
We can't last much longer at this rate, Bullwinkle.
If it's gonna keep up like this, I don't know as I want to.
It's not us I'm worried about so much, it's that money back there.
I'm ashamed of you, Rocky, thinking about money at a time like this.
Yeah, but it's not our money.
That's even worse.
We promised to get that money to the bank, and we gotta do it.
From here?
Sure. Now, here's my plan. You've heard about missile-firing submarines, haven't you?
Certainly.
Well,
A little while later, the cannon in the turret of the armored car swung straight up in the air and fired. Only instead of a shell, it fired a furry guided missile, Rocky the Flying Squirrel. And clutched in his grubby little fist was the box containing the money.
Squirrel is getting away with the loot. After him!
And the villains stopped tossing depth charges and started after Rocky. Below them on the lake floor, Bullwinkle took his fingers out of his ears and... I say, Bullwinkle took his fingers out of his ears... Oh, dear. As I was saying, Bullwinkle took his fingers out of his ears and started the armored car forward.
Why don't you say so?
The further the heavy truck went, the shallower the water became, until, just as it caught up with Boris and Natasha, it emerged from the water, lifting their boat up on top of the turret.
Boris, how do we get out of this mess?
Who wants out?
Don't we?
Nonsense. Where is Moose going?
To meet Squirrel.
And what is Squirrel carrying?
The money. Moose is taking us to the money.
See, Natasha, you got to look for silver lining. There's a little bad in everything good that happens.
I guess you're right, darling.
So relax. You got nothing to worry about.
But, darling, sign says low bridge ahead.
Aha! Now you got something to worry about.
And in a few seconds...
Tell me again about silver lining, Boris.
Well, we had a little setback, true?
Too true.
But on the other hand, gives me a good chance to say one of my favorite sayings.
What is?
Shut up your mouth!
But if you knew Boris like I know Boris...
Oh, what a schnook.
You'll know that our heroes still aren't out of the woods.
You're sorry, buddy.
Be sure to see our next chapter, Boris Bounces Back, or the Rubber Heel.
Yeah.